Hello everybody, welcome back to the Advanced Vape channel. Today we're going to be moving in a little bit of a different direction than the last few videos. We're going to be talking about a little tiny RDA that came out recently called the HADALY RDA from PSYCLONE Mods. So this is a 22mm single coil, so very different than the stuff that I've been reviewing or that I typically lean towards, which would be bigger RTAs. So this is a little RDA, but I just kept hearing good things about it. And I had a couple friends really recommend it strongly to me, so I decided to give it a try, and so I'm going to talk about it just a little bit today. I don't normally get too excited about single coil stuff. There's very few single coil tanks that really compare, in my mind, to what a dual coil can do. So just that's where my bias lies, but we'll go on and give this a try, and I'll talk about what I think about it. So as you can see, it's really small. It kind of looks a little bit ridiculous on such a big mod, but kind of simple design. And the deck is a clamp system with two sides here, and the airflow coming in from the sides, kind of the bottom side. And I'll show you a little bit more about that once we have the coil in place. So these little clamps have kind of an angle there to make it a little bit easier to get the coil in. But because they're lined up evenly, it kind of limits the size of coil that you can put in here. Otherwise, if you go too many wraps, the legs will start kind of bending in to try and meet this clamp. So the build that I'm going to be putting on here today is just a normal alien coil in stainless steel, 28 gauge cores and 36 wrap. And if you'll notice, I have the legs facing in opposing directions because of this design. So it's pretty simple. You just kind of push it in there on both sides. And you want to try and get it lined up in the middle there. And what I'll normally do is just hold one in place like that and tighten it down. Okay, so now we have one in place. Just put the other one in there. And that's it. Really simple installation, but like I said, you are kind of limited on the size of the coil. So if I were to do, say, 2 more wraps, these legs would be bending in more. And you could probably get creative and make it work, but for me, this is a good size for this. So as you can see with the airflow, it's kind of positioned to hit underneath it and travel across it. So a really clever positioning of the airflow on this. And I think that's why people enjoy it for the flavor. Is pretty much solely down to the way that airflow is designed in the small chamber. You want to make sure to cut these nice and clean. If it's sticking out a little bit, it's going to get hit by the chimney. Okay, and I'll go on and get through the dry fire really quick. Okay, so I think that looks good. And I just want to give a quick reminder, because I was just watching the way that it looked through the camera. It looks much brighter than I'm actually getting it. So in person, it's a very dull glow, and it almost looked white hot on the camera, and I'm really not getting the stainless steel that hot. And I'm going to be using cotton bacon on this. Okay, and I just want to point out before I put these wicks in place, I have the squonk pen in there right now. So as you can see, there's a big hole in the middle of of the 510 pin in the center there, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And because it's an RDA, you can be pretty generous with the length of the wick. Okay, and that's it. Obviously, compared to the stuff that we've been doing on the channel, so lots of different RTAs, this one is way easier to wick and super fast to build, all that kind of stuff. Single coil, so it takes less time. But while I'm doing this, I'll talk just for a second about one of the reasons why I tend to lean towards dual coil, and that's mainly down to the density of the vapor. So with two coils heating up, you're obviously getting double the amount of juice being vaporized at one time, so the density goes up. But the trade-off there is more airflow, bigger chamber, all of that kind of stuff. But in general, to me, dual coils have a higher density, which is what I enjoy. So I tend to get better flavor from those setups. Just in general, not talking about this one specifically. And I'll just line up the airflows. And I'll have them wide open. As you can see, the airflows are not huge, so it's going to be slightly restricted. But it's not a hugely restricted feel to it. And I'm going to put this at 55 watts. And let's give it a try. So as you can see, the clouds are bigger and more dense than you'd think they would be for a single coil design. And the juice really doesn't last in this. You gotta re-drip it frequently. But just talking in terms of flavor, I would say this is easily the best flavor RDA that I've ever used. So I wouldn't say that it's as good as some of the RTAs that I use, but just talking about drippers, for me, this one wins. And that's a really big surprise to me because I wasn't expecting a single coil RDA to have the kind of flavor that this one does. One alien coil in there, 55 watts, and the flavor is better than any other RDA that I've used, and I've used quite a few. Yeah, this thing was definitely designed with flavor in mind, I feel like. Just the way that it performs really took me by surprise. But I don't like that you have to re-drip it so frequently, and that's where that squonk pen comes in for me. And I'll show what you can do with that in just a minute. Really quickly, I wanted to talk about some of the accessories that it has available, and it has tons and tons of them. I just have 4 of them, and a big thanks to James for sending these my way. So I'll just open these up and show some of the stuff that's available for it. This is a Delrin cap, so replaces the entire metal section. And this is a Delrin piece that replaces both the drip tip and the top, so the entire top section. This is an acrylic top section. And a drip tip made from Ultim, which is kind of like Delrin. So there's more than that. These are just 4 of them. So a lot of different options to kind of customize the way that yours looks and performs and how it handles heat and stuff like that. So really fantastic flavor for an RDA, but the RDA part is kind of the problem for me. You have to re-drip frequently, and I really just hate dripping. So that's where squonking comes in for me. And obviously to do that you need a squonk mod, something that will feed juice from the bottom and well up from the base. But you can get those pretty cheaply. So just as an example, here's this Kanger drip box. Not the best squonker out there by any means, but probably the cheapest. And this is kind of a semi-regulated mechanical mod. So it has a top wattage of 60 watts, but no controls on it at all. And you fill your juice in here and push down on that, and the juice wells up from the base there. And that's just a way to keep the wick saturated without having to constantly re-drip. Sort of a compromise between an RDA and a tank. So you could just keep refilling it indefinitely, and you'll get to the point where you have a feel for when you need to do it and how hard you should squeeze and all that kind of stuff, so you don't have to actually look at it. I'm not a huge fan of this particular squonk. There's a lot better ones out there, but just for a cheap setup, this works really well. You can get these for maybe like 10 or 15 bucks. The mod, or the Addy itself, is probably 60 or 70. So that's where the expense comes in there. But having a squonk setup is where this RDA really shines. That's where it performs at its best. You don't have to re-drip constantly, which is a big deal to me. So I've been carrying it around on this just to try it out and use squonking, so I don't have to constantly re-drip it, because if I'm out and about, I just really hate doing that, which is why I tend towards RTAs. So yeah, just overall extremely impressed by this thing. Even though it's small, it has some great density and really great flavor for being an RDA, a single coil RDA. I don't really have many bad things to say about it, although I wish it could support just a little bit bigger coils as far as wrap size. I could go much bigger with the diameter, but wrap size to me looks kind of limited. But regardless of that, what's in there now performs extremely well, and I've been really impressed by it. So I'm definitely going to be picking up the latest RDA that this company made, which is a dual coil RDA, so I can't wait to try that out. Because this one really kind of took me by surprise, and I've been using it a lot more than I would normally use a dripper, just because of the flavor on it. It's really great for testing flavors, that kind of stuff. So that'll bring us to the end of this video about the HADALY RDA from PSYCLONE Mods. If you like this video on our channel, give us a like and subscribe to our channel. And as always, if you have any questions, leave them below in the comments or send me an email. Thanks.